Well, my friends, I honestly can't believe I'm saying this, but today is the actual day we get to check out the brand new Samsung Galaxy XR headset. And this is something that I was really excited to get my hands on. This is something Google and their partners have been working on for a really long time now. And after years of the rumor, speculation, and small glimpses behind closed doors, we finally got to try it out for ourselves. However, this immediate video is gonna be a bit different. It's not a review, but more so hands-on and first impressions by someone that hasn't actually used a VR headset since the Oculus Rift all the way in 2017. So needless to say, this is still very new tech to me, and I felt like a video coming from the perspective of a newcomer would help other newcomers throughout the process. So please sit back, relax as I tell you all of my first impressions on the Samsung Galaxy XR headset. First things first, I really need to tell you guys that I originally had zero interest in buying this headset, but if you're an Android enthusiast like I am, then you probably know the smartphone market really hasn't been pushing out anything super interesting as of late. I absolutely love talking about tech, don't get me wrong, and it's still my passion, but these days Android phones are so mature that it's really hard to get super excited. If you look at the Pixel 9 to the Pixel 10, you know it wasn't a huge jump, and I expect the Pixel 11 to be very similar. If you look at Samsung, they've already gotten used to releasing minor updates year over year for quite some time now. We're not really getting any new and exciting Android brands popping up like we did back in the day, and unfortunately the ones that we do get are sometimes surrounded by controversy. And as someone who legitimately tried the iPhone 17 Pro because I wanted to try something new, I realized that I am never ever going to actually like iOS. So if I want something new and interesting that leaves me with foldables, which to me are great, but not really mind-blowing. The best ones cost anywhere from $1,800 to $2,000, and for that price, there's a super cool, super awesome Android-based headset where I can use all of my Google services and Google Gemini with a lot of my Play Store apps and my Play Store subscriptions, all in an immersive, interactive 3D environment, which is why I felt the Galaxy XR was the most logical step for me in my personal Android journey. No doubt this is certainly bleeding edge tech, and it's not going to be for everyone, and it's probably not going to sell millions, but as someone that hasn't tried VR since 2017 and wanted to desperately try something exciting in the Android world, this was the perfect device for me, at least right now, which is why I'm so excited to try this out. And listen, I know that was a lot, and thank you for listening, but that context is really important to me as I see a lot of people asking why bother with this headset, or they seem adverse to even trying it, which is completely fair, especially for the price and the economy these days. But if you're in my shoes of wanting to try something new, you should at least be open-minded and do some kind of research on the Galaxy XR. That said, let's open this guy up and get into my actual thoughts and first impressions. As I said, I haven't opened a VR headset in quite a while now, but immediately I have to say, this is by far the best unboxing experience I've had for a tech item in a long time. The presentation is very clean, the headset is slowly revealed, sitting there kind of like an artifact in a lost temple, and Samsung really did a great job making it feel like a premium experience. Inside the box, we get a few items here, like the headset itself, of course, a nice thick braided cable to attach the headset to the battery pack. We also get the battery pack itself, made out of plastic with this interesting spattered paint texture, definitely pocketable, I'd say. And this is supposed to power the headset for about 2.5 hours with general use. On top of that, we get 3 magnetic forehead pads, which determine how close your eyes are to the lenses. So you have the stock pad, slim and thick, alongside magnetic light blockers. You also get a USB-C brick and a charger intended to charge the battery pack, a Samsung branded cloth, and a Samsung branded rubber cover for the headset visor. For first impressions on the build itself, I have to say there is a lot more plastic than I originally expected. Pretty much everything from the headbands to the support on the back to the shield portion that sits by your forehead is all plastic except for the visor portion itself, where there is a small band of aluminum. For $1,800, that might sound like a bad thing, but I definitely think it was necessary to keep the weight down. I read that this Galaxy VR headset is around 200 grams lighter than the Vision Pro and only 30-ish grams heavier than the Meta Quest 3, so it's definitely on the lighter side, which I think I ultimately prefer. For my first setup, I have to say it is a bit overwhelming as someone getting back into VR. If you're going to get one, you really need to make sure you're taking your time, slowing down, and doing everything properly. I made a few mistakes during my initial setup, which made the whole experience a little little bit uncomfortable, so I'm gonna give a few tips to help newcomers make this go more smoothly. First, I know it's obvious, but you 100% have to make sure the accessories are installed correctly for the most comfortable fit before you engage in the setup process. Initially, I used the thicker forehead pad and brute force my way through setup, and by the end it felt very uncomfortable. Because I didn't take the time to make sure I had a proper fit, the calibration for the iris scanning and eye tracking did not work right, so please take your time, properly adjust the headset. Objectively, the most important aspect to keep in mind is to make sure you're looking straight at the screen, not at a weird angle, and use the cushion size adjusters accordingly. It is okay if there's a little bit of distance between the actual lenses and your eyes, although I'm personally not gonna lie, I feel it's the most immersive being as close as I can possibly get to the lenses, but maybe that's just me. It's also worth noting the setup is heavily optimized for Samsung Galaxy phone users. Specifically, you have the ability to transfer your Google accounts from the phone to the headset by generating a QR code. That means you don't have to manually type in your passwords during setup, and you will get incoming calls, notifications, and messages, something you do not get with any other device right now, even a Pixel, interestingly enough. So for me, I'm using the Nothing Phone 3, and I had to manually type everything in, like my Google accounts, Wi-Fi passwords, and my Samsung account, all only using the virtual keyboard. But I have to say, even with me initially putting the headset on the wrong way, the hand tracking for typing on the keyboard is really good. 9 times out of 10, the aim and pinch hand gestures were super responsive, and with enough practice, I can definitely see myself becoming very proficient for sure. That said, I do have a few high-level important thoughts about this device, more so from a general consumer's first-time perspective, as I did buy this with my own money, by the way. So I think a lot of general consumers are going to feel the same way about a few of these talking points, or at the very least, these are just aspects you need to keep in mind. First, the number one thing I was really excited about was using a third-party battery pack, since it is USB-C and running Android, which to me means anything is possible. Unfortunately, when I tried a third-party battery pack, I got no response from the headset, and it seems it can only run on the proprietary Samsung battery. Originally, I was thinking I could use a massive 40,000 milliamp hour battery to power this thing for like 6 hours at a time, but so far, nothing has worked, which is weird because apparently you can use third-party battery banks on the Vision Pro, so I'll have to do a little bit more research and see what the solution is, but just keep that in mind. Second, there's no real convenient accessories inside the box. Personally, I don't think it's that unreasonable for $1,800 either to get a simple carrying case or some kind of basic protection, or maybe a cheap pair of starter controllers. All of those would be great, which does lead me to my next point, is that there's no controllers bundled in with the headset, which is a huge fail in my opinion. I get that it's more of a productivity focused device, and maybe to Samsung, not every single person that buys this will game. So again, I do understand, but I'm not really happy about that, especially for $1,800. To me, I feel like half the functionality of this headset I really can't use right now. At the time of purchase, the controllers were going to ship almost a month after I was going to get the headset, which isn't ideal. Some people were reporting after the holidays, and it just really isn't a good look not bundling them in. Rumor has it, third-party controllers are supported, but I have not seen one single person actually use them successfully, so it's something that I'm also going to have to test at some point. Again, all of this comes from the perspective of someone who's basically new to the space, coming back after a 7-year break from virtual reality. But I'm also really optimistic. At the time of this recording, I've only played around with it for maybe an hour at most, and my first initial impressions are it is so incredibly awesome to interact with Android in this format. The hand motions are so clean and responsive, eye tracking works really well, jumping into Google Photos is so immersive with the UI and animations that they've built, and YouTube XR content is actually sick. Like, if it's well made, it's more of an experience than just consuming content. So yeah, for me personally, I am absolutely in love with this thing. At least in my first hour of use, I am totally sold. This is 100% way more worth it to me than buying a foldable, and honestly, this is the kind of tech product that would keep me holding onto my main smartphone much longer. If I was a normal, average consumer, I could actually see myself upgrading every 4 years, let's say, and then just getting the latest version of this headset in between. But those are just my initial thoughts, as there's a lot more about this that we need to dig dig into. I'm definitely not saying buy this right now, but super fun, and I'm very intrigued to see how it goes. I will say we do have a full review coming in the next few days that is mainly put together by our senior editor Abner Lee, so please stay tuned for that and subscribe to the channel. It will be coming from the perspective of a seasoned vet in the tech industry, and it'll be worth the watch if you want a deep, complex look at Galaxy VR. But that, my friends, is everything that I wanted to cover in this video. I'm getting out of here as there is so much work ahead to prepare for the upcoming reviews. So in the meantime, please leave a comment, let me know what you think of Galaxy XR, and I will see you in the next one.